Nobody tells you that finding an apartment in Berlin means competing against 150 other applicants for a single listing, and that a landlord will choose based on a credit score you have not had time to build yet. Nobody tells you that the company you moved to Germany to work for, or one exactly like it, announced its first factory closures in nearly 90 years. Nobody tells you that Germany's economy shrank last year, while every immigration influencer was still filming their cozy autumn walks through the Altstadt. You are not imagining it. Something fundamental has changed in Europe's largest economy, and the version being sold online is running about 5 years behind reality. Today we are going to cover two things specifically. First, the rental trap that adds thousands of hidden euros to every lease in this country. Second, the industrial collapse that is quietly restructuring the job market you were promised. This is not pessimism. This is the information you needed before you booked the flight. Germany was supposed to be different. For decades, it was. While home ownership rates in the United Kingdom and the United States defined middle-class success, Germany built its housing culture around renting, and renting worked. Mietpreisbremse laws capped rent increases. Mieterverein, tenant associations with actual legal power, negotiated on behalf of renters across the country. Long-term contracts gave families stability that homeowners in other countries envied. A German apartment was not just a place to live, it was a social contract. That contract is being dissolved clause by clause, and it is being done in a way designed to be invisible until you are already locked in. Here's the number that does not appear in the listing. In Germany, every advertised rent is a Kaltmiete, a cold rent. It covers the apartment. It does not cover heating, water, building maintenance, garbage collection, building insurance, or a dozen other operating costs collectively called Nebenkosten. In major cities, Nebenkosten add between 20 and 35% on top of the advertised rent. An apartment listed at 1,400 euros per month costs you 1,700 euros to 1,900 euros per month to actually live in. This is not a scam. It is legal, it is standard, and it is almost never explained in the headline figure. International renters discover it at lease signing, when the numbers they budgeted against no longer match the contract in front of them. Now add the competition. The German Tenants Association documented averages of 80 to 200 applicants per available apartment in Munich, Berlin, and Hamburg in 2022 and 2023. 200 people for one unit. You are not being rejected because your application is weak. You are being rejected because the math is impossible, because Germany's building pipeline has collapsed at exactly the moment demand has surged. Here are the numbers behind that collapse. In 2023, Germany issued approximately 260,000 building permits, the lowest figure since 2012. That is a 26.6% decline from 2022, according to Germany's Federal Statistical Office. Construction costs per square meter rose approximately 40% between 2020 and 2023. The German Economic Institute calculated that Germany needs to complete 372,000 new apartments per year to meet demand. In 2023, it completed approximately 245,000. The Pistel Institute estimated a structural housing deficit of 700,000 units. In Berlin, the rental vacancy rate fell below 1%. This is not a shortage. This is a mathematical impossibility masquerading as a housing market. The government tried to intervene. In 2020, Berlin passed the Mietendeckel, a rent cap law that froze rents for 1.5 million apartments. Tenants exhaled. Then in April 2021, Germany's Federal Constitutional Court struck down the Mietendeckel as unconstitutional. States cannot regulate rent, only the federal government can, and the federal protections are weaker. What followed was financially devastating. Landlords demanded back payment for every month the cap had been in effect. The average back payment was between 3,600 euros and 5,000 euros per tenant. People who had done nothing wrong except trust a law now owed thousands. they had not saved, for an apartment simultaneously being relisted at market rate. This is not bad luck. This is a system where the tools renters were given to protect themselves were removed by the same legal architecture that prevented stronger tools from being built. The housing crisis in Germany is structural. The building pipeline cannot respond fast enough. The constitutional framework prevents the interventions that would work. The population is still growing because Germany is still running immigration campaigns advertising a quality of life that the housing market cannot deliver at the price points those immigrants will find when they arrive. But here is what makes this feel like a different kind of problem. At least when you are fighting the rental market, you know what you are fighting. What we are about to discuss is quieter, and in some ways more consequential, because by the time most people see it clearly, they have already made their decision. Ask anyone why they moved to Germany or why they are considering it, and somewhere in the answer, you will find the economy, the stability, the strong unions, the fact that Germany weathered 2008 better than almost any other developed country. Germany worked. That was the entire pitch. And for a long time, it was true. Germany's economic model was built on two foundations: cheap Russian natural gas that powered industrial manufacturing, and global export demand for precision goods that only Germany could make at the quality and scale the world required. The first foundation was severed in 2022. The second is fracturing under the cost pressure left by the first. Industrial electricity prices in Germany are now approximately 2 to 3 times higher than in the United States or major Asian manufacturing competitors. That gap is not closing, and it is the new permanent condition of the European energy market, and every company with a production decision to make is doing the math. The results of that math are in. In November 2024, Volkswagen announced potential closures of at least 3 German manufacturing plants. That was unprecedented. In 87 years of German operations, Volkswagen had never closed a domestic plant. IG Metall, Germany's largest industrial union, called it the largest labor confrontation in Volkswagen's history. 35,000 positions were identified for restructuring. The workers did not cause this. The technology did not fail. Germany simply became too expensive to make cars in, and the company more synonymous with Germany than any other made a decision that reflects the new arithmetic. BASF made the same calculation. In 2023, the chemical company announced 2,600 job cuts at its Ludwigshafen headquarters, the largest chemical facility in the world, and simultaneously announced an expansion of production in China. That is not a company hedging its bets. That is a company explicitly relocating output from a market where it cannot compete to one where it can. ThyssenKrupp followed in 2024 with 11,000 positions eliminated from its steel division, citing energy costs and European structural overcapacity. Germany's GDP fell 0.3% in 2023, the worst performance of any G7 economy that year. The phrase "sick man of Europe," last applied to Germany in the late 1990s, returned simultaneously in The Economist, The Financial Times, and Der Spiegel. That is not coincidence. That is a consensus forming. Germany's skilled worker immigration law, passed in 2023, was designed to address a real labor shortage. That shortage exists in some sectors. It is also happening at the same time as restructuring that is eliminating tens of thousands of positions in the industries that historically defined German employment stability. This is not a contradiction. This is what economic reconfiguration looks like from inside. Shortages here, layoffs there, and a policy pitch that was written for the economy of 2018 being delivered to people arriving in 2025. The decisions being made right now to expand in China, to close in Germany, to restructure rather than invest will define the German labor market of the early 2030s. So what do you actually do with this? Calculate the real cost of rent before you commit to any city. Take the listed Kaltmiete and add 30%. That is your actual monthly cost. Enroll in a Mieterverein immediately upon arrival. Tenant associations have real legal power, and membership costs under €10 a month. Research your specific industry, not Germany in the aggregate. Some sectors are still strong, others are in the middle of a reconfiguration that has no clear end date. None of this means Germany does not work. It means it requires a more accurate map than the one being handed out. This is not an accident. The brochure does not update quickly, and the gap between what is being advertised and what you will find when you land is now large enough to change a life plan. If you already live in Germany, if you have been through the apartment hunt, if you have watched your industry shift, drop one thing in the comments that you wish someone had told you before you came. Subscribe if you want the version of this conversation that the tourism boards and the visa consultants are not having.